Welcome, everybody, to Tastes Different Game Reviews. What are we reviewing today? Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown is an action-adventure game developed and published by Ubisoft, part of the Prince of Persia series. It was released on the Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S on January 18th of this year. That's a lot. So, Prince of Persia is on a comeback. I don't remember when the last one was made, but it has been a while. So, before we get started, this episode brought to you by Whiskey. Make work better. All right. So, this is kind of a classic game. It is a side scroller. And I'm not going to jump into too much yet because the opinion I was kind of wondering the most about was Pat's, because there's a lot of a lot of platformy stuff going on with this game. And I want to see what Pat's thoughts are. Pat, Prince of Persia, are you a prince?
I love it. I like Metroidvania games as long as that's what they are intending to be. What I hate is platforming games that that's not what their forte is, right? So you get into a platforming game that has really sloppy and crappy controls, and you're like, you're making me jump on this platform, but you don't have good enough controls. And so, but this game controls are tight. It plays really well. I don't mind the back and forth. It is a very large map. I don't know if I should give this away, but I will give it away. I was getting really annoyed with the size of the map until I unlocked fast travel. And then I'm like, thank God there's fast travel. Because I was like, I'm not moving from the very top left of the map to the bottom right of the map. I'm going to beeline this thing if it's that way. And I eventually unlocked it. So be mindful that there is some of that in the game. So, that's something that will be in the game. You just got to progress far enough. And it was right around the time I got tired of running back and forth and traversing to different opposite corners of the map where I unlocked it. And I'm like, cool. It came right at the right time as I was getting a little bit annoyed with it. So, so, I mean, I think the abilities are really good. The powers are pretty good. The controls are really tight. It just plays really well. And the story is, it's, fairly typical of what I would say this type of stuff is, but it's an interesting title, interesting story. The combat feels really well. At first I was having trouble getting used to the shoulder buttons being my parry and my dodge. Cause I'm used to they're on my buttons, so, and I got used to it. You get used to it because those buttons are used for other things. And it just makes sense. So I almost have somewhat adopted a claw style control for the game just because of this. Almost my fingers are down resting on the left and right shoulder button instead of the left and right triggers. And because you need that, you're going to be dodging and parrying like crazy in the combat. So it's fun. The boss battles are difficult, but I don't think they're overly difficult. So they're fun. It's definitely a fun traversal game. I like Metroid, but a lot of games that try to do Metroidvania style are not fun to me for some reason. I think it's probably a lack of controls and a lack of creativity. This game I thought was pretty creative. There's a lot of puzzles in there that you're like, can I get up there? Or do I have to come back once I get an ability? And you're like, let me try this and let me try this and let me try that. And then you're like, screw it, I'm going to come back. And then you're like, okay, I got this. Good thing I took a picture of that spot so I can go back, a map marker. So I can go back to that area. Because I did that a lot. I'm like, map marker. I can't get up here. Map marker. And then I will pull up my map and I'm like seeing all these eyes. And I'm like, which ones can I do now that I got this new ability, So it's all about that. And I don't mind when games are like that as long as it's upfront. And this game is upfront with it. That's what I expected. They didn't try to hide it behind like an RPG type thing. It's got a little bit of everything in it, I mean, you don't really level up, but you can buy increased pots and efficacy of your pots, and they have some skins that you can find in the game and things like that to change your character's look. They also have, you can upgrade your weapon, all kinds of stuff, and the money seems to flow pretty easily in this game. So I was outpacing really the vendors a lot of time with how much money I would always have. And I attribute that to there's a lot of back and forth that I did because I would go where I shouldn't go at the level I was or where I was at. I'm like, what's just beyond there? What's just beyond there? Instead of fighting the main story, I would just be like all over the map. So, but you know, the side quests just keep you a little busy with some of that stuff. Um, it's fun. That's all I can say. It's really, really fun. Especially for me, who's typically not. I don't like most Metroidvania games, but this one is hitting all the right notes. What do you think, Nick? Are you a fan of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, or I know you're probably more of a Metrovania fan than I know you are more of what than I am. So
Yeah, Metroidvanias, they either, for me, it's kind of a hit or miss, right? When it comes to those, like sometimes they're really good and sometimes, like you said, they're not very good, right? Depends on how they do it, right? And if they do it right. Ubisoft, you know, as much as we like to, and especially myself, like to hate on Ubisoft for everything that they release, especially in the last how long it's been. For Prince of Persia, last Prince of Persia game came out in 2010. So it has been a long time. I have to say, I agree with Pat. This game is fantastic. It is a ton of fun. I can't believe, for me, that I'm saying a Ubisoft game is good because most of them I say I hate, but I absolutely love this game. It's a lot of fun to play. It's like, you know, hitting all the points that Pat said, like the combat's a lot of fun. The controls are really good. The Metrovania style setup, they just did a really good job of creating everything and putting everything together, right? Traversing and going around everything feels quick and fast, and it doesn't feel like a trog getting from point A to point B. You know, you're like, man, it's on the other side of the map. Like Pat said, there is quick travel, and you're going to use that quite often. But even traversing from point A to point B, you're like, man, it's a long ways. And then you start heading that direction. You look at your map again. You're like, damn, it's right up the road. I'm like right there almost. And it's because the traversal's quick, right? You can quickly get through areas very quickly, very fast, especially as you unlock new powers and abilities. And the pacing's really good in the game. Like when you unlock new stuff and boss battles and new areas and things like that, it's always changing things up and adding new stuff. And even as you continue through the game, it even adds new creatures and characters to fight, which is crazy. Like they don't just recycle the same crap from the beginning. It's always some new enemy or something that you've never seen before. Like even in a point in the game where I thought, okay, they're going to start recycling stuff. Nope, there was a new enemy there. I'm like, well, I've never seen that before. And that was, you know, towards the end of the game. I was like, man, they just keep putting new stuff in here. But yeah, the game's a lot of fun. I do like, and I wish more Metroidvanias and more games would put in what Pat was saying with the map. You can do map markers. And the cool thing about that is most games do markers, right? Where you can mark on the map. And this game has it too. You can mark a symbol on the map. But the cool thing about this is you can take a snapshot of the area in the map that you're standing in, and it basically puts that on the map. And that's really cool because a lot of these games, especially Metroidvanias, you do want to remember a spot, but after like going through and doing stuff, you forget what was in that spot reason why you put a marker there to begin with. And the nice thing about the snapshot is you can put your cursor on it and it shows you the picture of what you took there. And you're like, oh yeah, there was a puzzle there, or there was a chest up high, or whatever it is. And you're like, yeah, that's the reason why I took a picture of that. Cool, I'm going to head back there and then do that now because I have a new ability or something. Because I know I've played a lot of Metroidvanias where I put map markers down and then later on I look and I go, why is that there? I don't remember. So this game does really good. Like Pat said, the story is fine. It's not anything like grandiose or fantastic, but it's also not boring. You're going to be entertained by it. You know, it's serviceable for Prince of Persia and everything. And you know, this game is a great like comeback for Prince of Persia, right? I didn't know what they were going to do with Prince of Persia. I love the Prince of Persia games. Some are better than others, but I've always liked Prince of Persia, and it's nice to see Ubisoft bring it back. And it's nice to see Ubisoft bring it back and do something which I feel is different, right? They could have just made Assassin's Creed Prince of Persia, right? And that's what I was hoping they would not do with it. And they didn't. They decided to make it a Metroidvania style game. And which is something completely different than what Ubisoft typically creates. And that was nice. It was nice to get something different from them, something that's just not, open world spill, symbols all over the open world, like they do with most of their games. Like even Avatar, which Avatar was, had some different things in there, and we reviewed that game. But again, it was like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, but just with an Avatar skin, right? It looked great. It played well and everything, but it's just an open map with beans all spilled all over there with markers all over the place and everything like that. And in this game, they didn't do that. They decided to go a different route. And I think it worked out really well for them. So I'm really excited for them to hopefully not muck it up, but to continue Prince of Persia with with the next entry and hopefully continue that Metroidvania. Maybe this could be their Metroidvania style games for Prince of Persia going forward, right? Not release some like Assassin's Creed every year, but every few years or so they bring out a new Prince of Persia and it's a new Metroidvania. I'd be awesome. It'd be awesome for them to do that. So I'm really excited with this game. This game was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Hats off to Ubisoft on this one. Shane, what do you think, buddy?
I think all the praise you gave Ubisoft is, you got to check my pulse, man. I think
I might have to check my temperature and make sure I don't have a fever.
If you've seen our show before, Ubisoft is not in our best graces, and if you're a gamer, you understand why. But this game does make up for several things, and I was concerned when I heard they were bringing back Prince of Persia. It was going to be an open world Assassin's Creed type game, just like Nick was saying. And they didn't, and thank Jesus for that, because holy crap, this game is good. It's truly good. But I do have to disagree with both of you on one thing, the story. I really like the story. I think it's interesting. I think it's enthralling. And what I really like is the story and the gameplay all give me feelings of nostalgia from the previous iterations. Sands of Time was the last one. Now, granted, it was not the best one in the series, but I still enjoyed it. This one here is just, I think it was a good time frame. I mean, that's 14 years roughly since that one was released. So don't, one thing I'm worried about is Ubisoft saying, all right, this one sold well. Let's put 74 more in the pipeline. We'll have one every 6 months, and we're going to go open world. No, please, no, please don't do that. The game is great, but we don't need one every 6 months, every year. That's why they think this game is so good, is because they waited. They built up a little bit of a hunger. Now, there's some people that, my son's never played a Prince of Persia. I've got a few of them here on the classics. Is he going to get into it? I think he would. I think the controls are perfect for my son, because he likes to, how do I put this? He likes a challenge. His Uncle Nick got him playing crap that's just pain in the, I won't even play because it's such a pain in the ass. But he likes those challenges, and a game like this is perfect for him. But this game is perfect for me too, because I grew up on these games. I love these games, and this game just blows me away. The color palette, the design, you can definitely tell they were concerned with the Switch to make sure it ran well on the Switch, because it's not a graphical powerhouse of a game, but it looks good because they chose an art style that I think works really well. You remember Phoenix Rising? So think of that kind of an art style, but in just a 2D setting, character models, same kind of art style, but just in a, flat setting. That's what it looks like. And it looks good. It plays good. I am really surprised. I like this game. I was truly, truly concerned about it, because Ubisoft just hasn't dropped any, grade A bombs on us lately. And they did it here. They truly did it here. And Pat, I really was surprised that you like this game as much as you do. because I know you get pissy about platformers, and this thing here works so well. Though it's hard to complain. I mean, it really is. I think 14 years is the time frame Ubisoft needs to put out games now. Because this one's just, is it perfect? No. Is it damn near perfect? Yes. I really think so. As this year has started, I would put it in my wheelhouse of top game of the year. Granted, it's barely January, but it's in my game of the year.
So far for the year, sure, I'll put it in my game of the year. But
let's see if it can hang.
The year's early.
Unfortunately, what's going to happen to it? It's going to get Hogwarts Legacy right out the door.
Oh, yeah.
It came out in January.
Unfortunately, you're right.
By the time the Video Game Awards come out, everybody's going to forget about Prince of Persia. But I mean, I dislike platformers that are not, that their controls are not strong. This game has strong controls. I like it. Everything is very responsive. The controls are very responsive. Like what gets to me a lot of times is some of the combat / platformers have things that I don't like. I don't like non-interruptible combat sequences. So like if I'm in a combat sequence and I can't interrupt it, that's like a no-go for me immediately for a platformer or for like a Metroidvania game. Like if I'm playing something like Elden Ring or something, that's to be expected, right? But in a game like this, where everything is fast-paced and twitch skills, you have to have interruptible combat animations and things like that. So, and this game it works really well. Combat can get hectic at times, but the controls feel very responsive. I'm like, oh, quick dodge, quick parry, and it's just like immediate. You're like, you see the red, you're like, oh, I got to dodge. You see the yellow, you're like, oh, I got to do a quick parry, or you just see a regular combat. So you're usually focused on trying to like beat the crap out of them, depending on the enemy. Like, okay, this enemy, I could do a 1-2 slash and he'll parry my third slash, so I need to do like a dodge underneath him to get behind him and get my combo started again, so plus it's got aerial combat. It's got just about everything in it. And the platforming is fun. It's not overly used and it's not overly tedious. They switch it up a lot. Like, I don't feel like I'm jumping from like, place to place and hitting tiny ledge every time. It's like, okay, there'll be a section where things are a little bit hectic with the platforming. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now we're into an area where I'm doing wall jumps or jumping dashes to reach a far distance or something. So I am perfectly fine with all of that, as long as I know what I'm getting into. And this game does it right. That's all I can say. And I agree with Shane. The graphics, you could tell, are not like a next gen game, but at the same time, they were worried, like you said, about making it work on everything. And so you have to code your weakest link. And in this case, the Switch is the weakest link you got to code to. And so they got to make it perform well on the Switch, which means it's got to perform well on everything else. I would hate to play this game on my Switch. My Joy-Cons have drift to no end.
Oh, and I wouldn't try it with a Joy-Con.
I'd be like, and even my Pro controller is actually starting to develop a little bit of a drift. The official Nintendo licensed one. So, I mean, but that's just slight, but I guarantee I'd be pissed off because I'd be, because literally on my Elite controller, I had to loosen up the tension on my thumbstick because I have my tension tight enough that if I pull my stick all the way to one side and let go, it's got enough of a hard bounce back that it'll actually shove me the other way. So I had to like unloose the tension because I like the tight tension on the thumbsticks, but on this game, I had to loosen the tension a little bit. So when I flicked the stick, it didn't if I flicked it left, it didn't go left and then immediately go back a little bit to the right because there's like platform parts where you jump and you've got to look a direction, you walk a direction and the platform stay out and you walk the other one and the platform goes in. So I was jumping on that and I'd flick my stick to get over there and he would immediately face the other way and the platform would go out from under me. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's my stick. So,
Yeah.
Good tight controls.
Everything in this game has a good purpose. The abilities you unlock, the I'll just say gear. We'll just call it gear because I don't want to give out too much. But the gear you unlock, everything has a purpose. And if you used right, you can really kick some butt running through those levels. But just it's such a surprising game from Ubisoft. It's not a milker where Hey, I can unlock this with $12. Ooh, I can unlock that for $20. It's a game. I mean, it really is. It's a game that's just meant to be played. There's not a bunch of cash cow crap. Granted, you can go into the store and probably buy all sorts of dog crap if you wanted to, but they don't shove it in your face like they do all the other games. So that makes me happy. That really makes me happy. So, kudos to them. I mean, really, Ubisoft, this is what you need to do. You need to make games, not open world, take 75 hours just to find your freaking shoes. Just make games, plain and simple, to the point. Nick, Ubisoft, Rainbow Six, you'd love to have another one, but a real Rainbow Six, not Siege. But they're not going to do it because of the cash cow that they've built off of. They need to stick to these types of games. And I don't mean, side scrolls. I mean games that are just games that are story driven, games that get you from A to B. Because I got to thinking, if you look at Sony has the best first person lineup, period, bar none. Their games are single player games. Their games are story driven. Their games are narrative. Their games are games. Ubisoft used to have that, and then they stopped. So go back to that crap.
And it felt like with this one that Ubisoft didn't try to follow the mantra that they have set up, right? They just decided at this one, like they were just going to do something completely different than what we typically see from Ubisoft, which is, Assassin's Creed or Far Cry type style games. With this, they completely did a 180 with what they typically create. And I think it worked out great for them, right? I think this was like, kudos, good. You did something different. And when you do something different, Ubisoft, you can tell that your designers, your developers, the people that craft your games, they have a lot of passion and a lot of love and desire to make really cool stuff. And not to say that they can't make cool stuff in your open world, but that template that they pull up every time they make a Far Cry or Assassin's Creed is just getting old. And it almost felt like with this game, they gave them just kind of like, I don't know if they did or not, but it almost feels like they gave them just freedom to be like, hey, we're reviving Prince of Persia. Do what you want with it. Right. Because I feel like the executives would be like, we need an Assassin's Creed, but Prince of Persia. That would be like what they would make. Right. But it was kind of like, hey, revamp the Prince of Persia title, like make it into something, and they're just like, you're just going to let us do whatever. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, okay. Because they didn't even make this with Snowdrop. This was made with the Unity engine. So, I mean.
Well, here's why it's successful. You forget it's an Ubisoft game. While playing it, I'm like, I completely forget that it's an Ubisoft game while playing it. I was dreading it. I was waiting for the map to be littered with crap, and I'm like, and I was expected to be. I'll be honest with you, I was expected to have to go back to every area like umpteen different times, like but the game didn't drive me to do that. It was, I took the little screenshot eye markers on the map when I was like, I know there's something here, but I don't know how to do it yet. So, or whatever I have doesn't have it. So I did that. And, I've come back to probably 2 or 3 times before I had the right power combination, or it would click in my brain. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, and they just did things right like that, the eye. And then once I solved a puzzle for the area, I removed the eye. So it didn't show up on my map anymore. And I like things like that. So, I just forgot I was playing an Ubisoft game. That's all there is to it.
That's really a good way to look at it. You get the Ubisoft logo at the beginning, and then that little Uplay screen pops up, and then it's the game, and that's it. It's just the game, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful, and that is the formula they need to go back to. I've always loved Ubisoft, and the last 10 plus years they've really let us down. But hopefully, this is the start of something good. Hopefully, this is the start of what our formula has really just been dog crap. I mean, set on fire front porch bag of crap. Let's try this more often. Let's try just making games. That's all I want.
Yeah, and this was made by Ubisoft Montpellier, that division of Ubisoft. According to Wiki, they're best known for developing Rayman and Beyond Good and Evil series. So it's like Clearly,
That's
they're
in
not
their
making Beyond Good and
pedigree.
Evil 2. But
Damn it.
but you can tell, like, you know, Rayman is a very good platformer, right? They haven't made a Rayman in years, but you know, and Beyond Good and Evil was a really good game as far as, you know, the original goes. You know, who knows what's happening to the second one, but you know, clearly this group or this division of Ubisoft, I don't know exactly everything they've created for Ubisoft. I don't know if they haven't been doing anything since, you know, whatever they did last, and this is the newest thing they've been working on. Let's see here. The last thing they did was Valiant Hearts on Android and iOS. That was in 2023, and then from there, the Rayman Mini on. So looks like for a while they've been just doing some phone games and stuff, and really, and then, you know, back in 2013, the last Rayman Legends, 2014, Valiant Hearts: The Great War, which I never played the Valiant Hearts series. I don't know if you guys have.
I played a little bit. They're not bad.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, they did a lot of the Rayman series. They did that Peter Jackson's King Kong game where you could get 1,000 gamer score that came out on 360. They did Advanced Warfighter, which was Advanced Warfighter was fun. But other than that, you know, they've done they did Zombie U, which that game was all right. But I mean, like, you know, they've done a lot of their platformer games and some of their shooters, but mainly a lot of their platformer. A lot of the Rayman is what I'm seeing here. They've done a lot of those. So you can tell that they've got experience in that platforming realm, clearly. And so it really, you know, reflects that in this game. And yeah, I agree. I think the graphics they're very clean. They're very nice looking, very clean, smooth. So it all works really well. And yeah, I mean, kudos to Ubisoft and to this development team portion of Ubisoft. They did a great job. Like, let them continue making, you know, like I said, I hope they continue Prince of Persia, Metroidvania games in the future, right? We don't want one every year, but, you know, hey, next Prince of Persia game's coming out in 3 years or something like that, and it's going to be another Metroidvania by them. Cool. Awesome. I'll look forward to that. Right.
Yeah. I think 3 years, I would be okay with another one. As long as it's set like this one with quality, you know, it's as long as it's a game, not a cash grabber. So, yeah. So all in all, I think we're all pretty goddamn shocked. It was a worthy purchase, by far. I don't think any of us can disagree with that. So, you guys got anything else before get kicked the sand out of my shoe? All right.
I do want to mention real quick, this game is $50. So brand new. That's for the basic version. I think it's $60 for the deluxe. If you want like the extra skins and stuff. But if you just want the base version, it's a $50 game, which is for $50, it's well worth it. Yeah. So
that's what I got. Base version, $50.
Yep, I agree. That's really all you need. But if you want the extra junk, go for it. I mean, it's $50 is a surprising price for any game these days, especially in Ubisoft. So enjoy it while it lasts, because it won't. All right. Anything else, Pat? You got anything, bud? All right. We're going to knock the sand out of his underwear and get on out of here. But before we go, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit those notifications. Don't forget to give us feedback. Do you like Prince of Persia the series? Do you like Prince of Persia The Lost Crown? Do you like me? I'm adorable. Let us know what you think. Give us that feedback. We always appreciate it. And until next time, see ya.